If you could check your, good evening. I am Tony Dattino, founder of the USA Memory Championship, and doing my Live with Tony on Friday evening, and still experiencing and ready to scream over some computer issues that I'm having with going live. But I wanted to share with you an experience that we're having with a senior citizen friend of ours that is going through a process of being diagnosed with cognitive impairment, and how the healthcare world is going about making the decisions on how to care for her. And it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to put some of this out to my Live with Tony audience and tell me if it makes sense to you, and if you and or any of your family or friends go through a similar experience, what would you do and how would you go about doing it? And it's terribly frustrating, having been a part of the USA Memory Championship now for 24 years and seeing what people are capable of doing. And I've seen the lives of people like Josh Foer, who wrote Moonwalking with Einstein, and Nelson Dellis, who is a mountain climber who's been a 4-time champion, or our international man of memory, Chester Santos, or Ronnie White, who's worked with military and done things, our national services, in incredible ways, and Lance Turcotte. I mean, I can just continue to go down the list. John Graham. I mean, Scott Hagwood. I mean, the names of the people that have just won this event, and it's just amazing in what they've done, and teaching us how they've applied these skills and has made such a difference in their lives. And here I am with a senior citizen friend today in a skilled nursing facility, and they're explaining to me how they've reached the diagnosis of cognitive impairment. And when I started to go through what they were doing in the test and how they were using it, and I said, okay, I need to see this for myself. It brings to mind what things I've been reading, especially during COVID-19, how many seniors are worried, and I'm going to put seniors down at age 50, because I'm seeing more and more people, and even at age 50, male, female, with more females seem to be concerned about losing their memories, but age 50, worried about losing their memories. And the question I always ask people, you have this concern about losing your memory. Well, why do you feel that? Well, I forgot where I put my keys, and I have to go all over and looking for them. All right, well, the first question is, you want to use anchors, right? Well, do you anchor? Do you put your keys, simple question, do you put your keys in the same spot every day? Well, no, sometimes I can with packages, or I'm busy, or I have, a phone that's ringing, or I have the kids asking me, or my spouse is looking for the groceries that he just brought home, and so I may just plop them down, somewhere different every day. Well, that's not a good way of programming your memory into helping you to retain where you've put the keys. It doesn't mean you've got a memory loss. It just means that you're not organized in where you're putting your keys and how you can stay in control of your own memory and keep yourself focused on what you're doing at any given point in time. And that's one of the issues of the Memory Championship, that people are focused. They practice on staying focused. We have people that jump into swimming pools and have the appropriate masking and breathing so they can go and have a swimming pool and stay focused. We've had mental athletes that, Nelson Dudley climbs up Mount Everest, and he's going up doing mountain climbing in Nepal, and he's practicing memory techniques to see how we can do that. I mean, we've had people that kids are jumping on them, right? They have kids jumping around, making noise, screaming, yelling, and practicing how they stay focused. So we come into the house, and we got kids and phones and spouses and dinner and craziness going on, and 6 things in our heads, and we're worried about losing our memories. Well, did you stay focused on your memory? We meet somebody on our way in or out in a store. We meet somebody now on Zooms, or we meet people on television every night in TV watching, and we don't remember their names. And the question I always ask, well, was it ever your intention is it ever the goal that you had to want to remember somebody's name? And therefore people think, well, gee, I don't remember that person's name. I don't remember that person's name. I must be losing my memory. Well, the question is when you were meeting that person, was it your intention and was it your focus to want to remember their name? And therefore, if you didn't have that intention and you didn't have that as your focal point, what are the chances that you ever put it into your brain for purposes of encoding so you can pull it out at a later time? So one of the things I teach people is look, to begin to enhance your memory, it's what are you focused on before you try to put something into your head? Are you focused on trying to remember it before you put your keys down? Do I want to remember where I put these keys down? And I want to stay focused on it, not on 4 other things where I'm multitasking. When I'm meeting people, am I focused on trying to remember their name? And do I ask them to spell it for me? Do I repeat it in terms of going back over it so I begin to implant it? Do I see it in printing? Maybe I'm looking at, I met some people today at the senior center and I'm looking at their name tag so I can imprint the printing of their names into my brain so the next time I see them on a visit, I'll remember their names. So are you intentional about the things that you want to retain and remember? I always love it. People tell me, gee, I was in this big parking lot, a big garage in the shopping mall or a ball field or at the football stadium, and I forgot where I parked my car. Well, when you parked your car, did you focus on where you were parking it and anchoring it on something that was solid, something that you could look at and immediately say, my car was parked right next to that building or right next to that unique pole. I know here in Magic Kingdom Land, when I go into the Disney parking lots before COVID, it was, okay, which character? Is it Mickey? Is it Pluto? Is it Daisy? Donald? Whose parking lot am I parking in? And therefore, what number in the parking lot do I park in? And so I focus on remembering where I parked the car before I run to get on the tram to go to the front entranceway. So again, focus and intention, focus and intention. Now, I don't remember where I put my car. Okay, got it, because I was busy on a phone, focused on something else. I come home, I'm not focused on where I put my keys. I went and met 4 people today at the assisted living center, and I didn't focus. And now I come home and I'm like, oh, gee, first, where I lost my keys. Sometimes I lose my glasses. Where did I put my glasses? I just put them down in different places, and I conclude, oh, I've got memory problems. My goodness, my memory's not working because I didn't remember my car, where I put it. I didn't remember the names of some of the people I met. I didn't remember the last time I looked for my keys, and my golly, the last time I went walking all over for my glasses, they were actually on my forehead and on my eyes, and I spent time looking for them. And I deem myself as having a memory concern. My goodness, that's a senior moment, and my cognitive functioning is not working. And the answer is your cognitive functioning is working perfectly. You just have never decided to focus on the things you wanted to remember in the course of a hectic day or in the course of having other priorities and other stress points. And therefore, you're not cognitively impaired. Have you taken the time to retain, encode, absorb, focus on what it is I want to remember before I input it into the brain and how I was going to hook it? How was I going to anchor it so that when I needed to pull on the anchor, bam, the information would come out. So I'm looking at this cognitive impairment test being done now at a skilled nursing facility. And my concern is they have these questions that they're asking a patient or one of their patients in the center. And if the patient doesn't answer the question, they're cognitively impaired. So I said, okay, I got to check this. This is a dear friend. I get your questions, and I want to see exactly what she's doing. So I start asking her some of the questions that, based on experience I've had with her, how well does she answer my questions? And what was interesting is I asked her a series of different questions on food and TV programs and people that she had met during her stay at the assisted living before she went to skilled nursing. And she was able to answer all of my questions, but what? And a few times she answered them with a level of sarcasm and a little bit of a snarky answer. She refused to answer to some, which basically said, I don't want to tell you. She answered another one, which, why do you care? But she had a conversation with me. Now, didn't like her answers, but don't you think that in order to give me a snarky, sophisticated, sarcastic answer, don't you think it's possible that her brain was working to be able to take my question and then respond to it? Whether it was sarcastic or not, the responses she gave me fit the questions. So I then talked to the social worker. I said, wait a minute. She says, well, Tony, let me tell you, I go in and we've got this test that we've got to give, and this is what we use. And I'm like, wonderful, but the test is not valid. Are you we ask her, and based on the number of answers that she gives us that are correct, is how we come up and decipher and score it. And I'm like, here we go again. These are people in healthcare. Do we understand how our memories work? Do we understand how emotions impact it? Do we comprehend the complexity of how one responds to questions and whether or not their emotion is like, I don't really give a darn because I'm in depression, and this is, telling you what year I'm in, or remembering a list of words, or trying to respond to some of your silly, goofy questions is not on the top of my priority list. My priority is, how do I get myself back and well? How do I get myself back on my feet? How do I get myself into a life that I want to go live, which wasn't laying in a bed? And so the subject of memory and concerning people and whether or not they have memory concerns is something obviously that we're going to have to tackle. It's not going to go away. And unfortunately, my fear is that the science world is just not catching up fast enough for it. And that there is so much good science that we have, and if we can only get the right people in the neuro world to focus on what that is and then do some test experiments. So for example, if we could figure out how to get our dear friend to unleash some of the emotional anger and depression and frustration we have, and we could unleash the emotional part of her brain, could she do a whole lot better on the scoring of the objective, logical questions that are being asked? And wouldn't that make a huge difference in the way they then would care for this person? So it left me coming home after a visit, really wanting to at least share with my Live with Tony audience, if any of you are worried about your memories and you think you're losing it, first question I got to ask you is, are you staying focused on the things you want to remember? And are you at least aware there are mnemonics and skills and methods that you could learn that would help you to do all of those things that you want to remember? Names and faces, where I put my keys, where did I lay down my glasses, and how could you pass a memory test that's being given to diagnose you with cognitive impairment? And we got a lot to learn on this. And I think Michael Dautino has done a fabulous job in putting together a comprehensive program after watching and learning from 22 years of the Memory Championship, putting together a maximum memory mastery online course that's now being expanded that will include things for our brain health and things for super learning that I think are going to be enlightening for all of us to say, what more can we learn? What more can we practice? And how can that impact a healthy life at a longer period of our lifespan? This is my Friday broadcast, the 5 o'clock hour. Tomorrow's football again. Sunday is football. I'm trying to get my picks out in the pool that I'm part of. I did 1 out of 2 last week, so I'm not as good as I wanted to be, but I thought Buffalo would easily cover the spread last week, and they didn't. I did have New Orleans picked, so I got to go back to the drawing board tonight and figure out what I got to submit for tomorrow's games. So have a good evening, and we'll see you again on Monday.